Ladies and gentlemen, residents of International Falls, I'd like to begin tonight by thanking every one of you for taking the time to watch this address tonight. I'd like to also thank you for the tremendous honor and the responsibility that you have put in me to represent you as your city's mayor. I'd like to thank you for the ability to confidently say that the state of the city of International Falls, is good, against all odds. It is no secret that we're living through an uncertain and uniquely difficult time in our history. In September 2019, after serving his community for 25 cumulative years as mayor of International Falls, my predecessor, Bob Anderson, passed away unexpectedly at the age of 77. Mayor Anderson had loved this city, and in turn, he was loved by our city as well. I was appointed to this office in the wake of his passing in October of 2019. Directly afterwards, the storm began. Global pandemic, isolation and quarantine, failing supply chains, barred borders, flood, and inflation. I owe our endurance through these tough times to the exceptionally high individual average of this city's residents. Your resiliency, dedication to your home, and pride in your community, it is because of you that I have the great fortune of saying that we have weathered this storm. Together, we have forged a new path and emerged stronger than anyone could have anticipated. In just the last year, we've seen movers, shakers, and producers thrive in our community. Several new businesses have emerged. American by Wyndham, the House of Joy Hair Salon, the Salty Jester, the Drive-Through Rainy Lake Medical Center Pharmacy, the new Holiday gas station, Tractor Supply, and the Cobblestone Hotel. But growth didn't just stop there. Many businesses were adopted or rekindled by new owners. Border Boost, The Jug, and Outdoorsman, they were both taken on by new ownership. Gearhart Floral was rebranded as Flower Child Floral, and the late Sandy's Cafe has become On the Way Cafe on Highway 53. Border Bob's is in new hands, and the vacant building that had once been the Holiday gas station is currently being transformed into a Lucky 7 general store. And in just the last few weeks, City Drug was acquired by the Rainy Lake Medical Center. The International Falls Economic Development Authority and I have marveled at this unprecedented growth. We were determined to find places in which we could help. We found out that Green Tech Manufacturing was unable to move a sewer line that was suppressing their ability to expand. With a $180,000 forgivable loan from the IFEDA, the line was moved. Their business can expand operations, and they can operate on larger marks and are now proudly supporting their clients globally. This growth has not just been felt by our local community, but by the local workforce, having created 10 permanent jobs here in International Falls. On January 27th, 2022, global logistics and supply chain management provider One Simis Management Group met with the Couchiching Economic Development Authority for the first time to discuss a potential for establishing a logistics center within the city of International Falls. After a year of collaboration between One Simis and the International Falls Economic Development Authority, the city attorney, the city administrator, and myself were able to put a developers agreement with One Simis and the EDA, which was signed on the 13th of December, 2022. This agreement offered a parcel of land in exchange for $250,000 to the EDA and the promise that once this $15 to $18 million center was built, it would create a minimum of 30 full-time living wage jobs in our community. The recent collaboration between our efforts of the International Falls Development Authority and the Couchiching Technology Initiative resulted in a $28,987 contribution to go towards funding a project to establish broadband access to the One Simis property, along with any other businesses along Highway 155 and Highway 332. I am, of course, immensely grateful for the good fortune we've had, but I'm exceptionally proud of the determination, the hard work, the late nights, and the rolled up sleeves that brought us to this point. It is no little effort that our town continues to forge for a better future for itself. As many of you know, there remains a major pitfall that risks slowing or halting this progress, and that's housing. We hardly have enough homes for our residents to live in now. The prospect of attracting families to settle here, to cement and grow our population and economy, it's grim. When we do not have enough homes, permanent structures or rentals to offer, where would these people live? We are painfully aware of this, and we are doing everything we can to formulate smart solutions to these shockingly complex issues. We are working alongside our city engineers at Bolton and Mink to perform regional studies on locating buildable lots where homes and apartment complexes could be fashioned. They are working with Kutaska and larger employers in the area to capture a full spectrum of the housing needs, including low-income housing, senior housing, single-family housing, and full-scale homes. We are currently working to persuade the Housing and Redevelopment Authority to consider expanding their role in our community by taking on new projects with us. Their last development has been the Woodland Park Apartments in 1968. We feel that it's time for us to really work on the housing issues that we have in our community. We cannot grow without new growth housing. Although I am promoting my joy and relief to see our community thrive, I by no means intend to dismiss or overlook the tragedies that we have faced. I don't know a single person who in the last few years has not experienced some form of a loss, whether that was a loss of a family member, a friend, homes, or businesses. We saw doors close on establishments that we've been frequenting since we were children. So I recently found out that Reflections Hair Salon on Main Street will be closing in June. And I've been rescued from my Doc Brown hair multiple times by Amara at Reflections. She does my hair every 2 months, and she has since 2019 with the inclusion of the pandemic. I can't fathom of what I would have become without her mind-bending skill on my hair. That is just one of the businesses that we've seen close, but out of that becomes opportunity for somebody else. In 1982, I went to my first movie ever at a movie theater. They were showing E.T. in the current Cine 5 building. Although I believe it was Cine 1 and 2 back then. I was with my grandmother and they were showing E.T. I was so excited, the seats were so big back then and the music was so loud. I swore I could feel it in my bones. But afterwards, it took months to stop being afraid of the NASA people trying to take E.T. To be honest, I still might be afraid, but it was the first experience at a movie theater and the last movie I would have saw with my grandmother. She passed away shortly afterwards. Both businesses that I just shared with you have already been or are scheduled to be closing in the near future. And I know many of you have similar memories, and that brings me to some comfort knowing that they will be remembered often and fondly in our community. I can't stress enough, regardless of why each business is closing, that I watch each door in our community close with a heavy heart. I don't relish in the departure of any business in this city. However, I have absolute faith, evidence-based faith, that when one door closes, another window will open. A window of opportunity. It's still a bit cold out there for opening windows, but I trust that whatever new growth spurts out of the parting of these businesses, it will be welcomed with open arms and with open hearts in our community. On the parting of these businesses, I must address recent rumors regarding the closing of Cine 5. It has come to my attention that their social media page was owing their closure to the City of International Falls. Seeing that statement broke my heart. Although I try not to take part in online discourse, I would be grossly negligent not to address this issue. I can assure you it brings me absolutely no shred of happiness to see the city's only theater close. In December, the city received reports that the theater sprinkler system, which runs throughout the building, was no longer operational, and that the break in this system had led to flooding of resident properties around the area. It was after this was identified that the theater's water services had been shut off on an emergency basis to limit the outside flooding. As a result, the lack of bathrooms available, as well as significant increased fire hazard due to absence of a sprinkler system, it was after ample opportunity and general support of the city and the community, the problem was still not fixed, resulting in our fire marshal declaring the business to be too great of a fire and a health risk, too far from the state safety regulations to allow the business to continue operating. I am obligated as the mayor of this city to ensure local, state, and federal laws are upheld. Continuing on the topic of safety, a while back, Couchiching County received a notice from the Minnesota Department of Corrections that the Couchiching County Jail did not meet current standards. Therefore, the facility must either be remodeled and updated to meet the standards or face a sunsetting for its current use. In October of 2022, the jail's Project Oversight Committee approached the City Council and requested whether or not we wished to continue the lease of the International Falls Police Department within the Couchiching County Jail and the Shared Law Enforcement Center. We later received an estimated future lease amount of $102,000. Finally, in January, we received a letter from the Couchiching County Board of Commissioners requesting the city commit a long-term lease agreement for the space currently used by the police department. After spending a considerable amount of time researching the best possible route for his department, the police chief, Mike Koscheck, recommended the city decline. He favors transitioning the International Falls Police Department temporarily to the third floor of the Bacchus Community Center. He explained that his decision is rooted in three fundamental concerns. 1, security. Number 2, centralized location for quick officer response. And number 3, community accessibility. Due to the third floor location, the Bacchus office provides a uniquely secure setting, while still offering a comfortable lobby accessible to the public. Being 2 blocks from the previous International Falls Police Department base, its centralized location within the city would nearly be unchanged, thus assuring quick emergency response times. As we continue to investigate our options, we uncovered several unintentional but not unwelcome consequences of this transition. It offered the police department a chance to build an individual identity outside their close relationship with the sheriff's department. We discovered the police department would actually be more accessible to the community by being located in that building. We were shocked and quite surprised by the increase in space that this office would offer. It's 4,877 square feet, being 6 times the space that we currently have. It would cut down on taxpayer costs with this location being only $74,000 a year, compared to our quoted future lease with the county at over $102,000 a year. I have been repeatedly assured by both department leads, Chief Koscheck and Sheriff Hedlund, that all future operations would remain rooted in their mutual desire for continued respect and friendship between both agencies, regardless of where the police department's base location is. We acknowledge that this space in Bacchus is not perfect, and that there will undoubtedly be a considerable adjustment period for all involved in this transition, and that the ideal base for our emergency services would look significantly different if we could. Chief Koscheck has even cautioned us not to make this lease with Bacchus on a permanent basis, nor would the City Council feel appropriate in doing so. It is important to note that the decision to move our PD to Bacchus is heavily based on long-term plan to have a permanent establishment for all city emergency responders. This includes the police department, the fire department, and the ambulance service. It has been a well-known issue that all of those departments currently dwell in spaces that are too small, too old, in some cases 60 to 80-year-old buildings that are rapidly nearing the same regulation models that the county jail has recently went through. These updates would likely cost a small fortune and yet still necessitate frequent keep up. With this in mind, the city is seeking to design, adopt a new center for all emergency services that would provide less complexity and cost when considering additions, modifications, long-term keep up, and would meet regulation standards. Spending shall be regulated with rigid scrutiny. I can assure you we will not invite extravagance. The foundation of this project is rooted in cost savings and public safety, and both aspects will be carefully weighed with every decision. Constant care shall be taken to guard against any unnecessary increase in taxpayer dollars. Speaking of your tax dollars, it only seems fair to give you a brief rundown of what you might be presently seeing because of those tax dollars. Amongst other projects Public Works has been working on, I think it's only fair to talk about the water treatment center, which is getting ready to go under a renovation because it is one of the newest facilities we have in our community, but it's also outdated. Among dozens of other projects, our Public Works are greatly working on the sewer collection, parks, grounds, and facility maintenance, roads, alleys, sidewalks, curbs, gutter maintenance. Last year we were able to repave over 80 city blocks of city streets. We've repaired 14 water main breaks and 8 water main leaks. We winterized this year 475 fire hydrants and serviced 160 under routine maintenance. We installed, replaced, and maintained our street lighting this year, and we assisted Couchiching County for multiple months during the flooding efforts. We also provided staff, equipment, facilities, and resources. Our fire department in the last year, we had 53 total responses. 27 of those were within the city limits of International Falls, and 26 of those were rural fire. Our International Falls ambulance service, which provides service for a little over the 6 square miles of International Falls, and it also supplies about 800, 900 square miles of outside the city of International Falls. What did 1,549 total ambulance runs. Of those, 1,106 were emergency 911 calls, and 443 were transfers. The International Falls Police Department last year had 5,437 service calls. That's more than 14 a day, or 302 per officer. And really quick, I just want to touch on Kerry Park. For many years now, we have been looking at how to grow economic opportunity in our community. We've had 2 hotels invest into our community. We have to invest into ourselves. We see that there is a definite need for youth and for senior citizens to be able to access this property. We met with multiple user groups from the school district, college, rec hockey, basketball, and we heard the same thing. We need a facility in our community. We don't have the spaces for these organizations. We don't have a gathering spot. This is what's being told to us from the users, the people that would be paying to use the facility. This is why we're looking at it. Hopefully we can get the state legislature to allow us to move forward with this project, but I can assure you the City of International Falls is not putting any additional funds into this project unless we get outside help. So that's where we're at with the Kerry Park project. I would love to talk to you guys more about that. So in closing, in case anyone has forgotten amid all the disasters that we've faced, allow me to remind you, we are a strong people. We are accustomed to the cold, we are accustomed to living remotely, and we are a resilient people. We hold fast to our determination to continue step by step, without halt and without hurry in the face of utter uncertainty. We have not anticipated our success in the last few years, but we've gotten it, and we have. We have had successes. Again, we're not done here. This isn't the end result. I would challenge you and everyone listening to dream just a little bit bigger. Take a moment and consider how you would define success here in International Falls. And make that your vision. Make it real. Make it something big. Make it something small. Dare to be contagious and take leaps of faith. Make something you're proud of, and once you're done, do it again. This city is filled with so much potential. It takes a set of dedicated hands to make something wonderful. So let's continue making International Falls wonderful, because this is the best city in Minnesota and possibly the world.